Hi and welcome to In the Front Row, all things reactions, reviews and interviews. My name's Jamie Lee and today I'll be doing a review of The Walking Dead Season 11 Episode 19 titled Variants. I love that these episodes have been starting with flashbacks of people from the past. You know, it's really preparing us for the end and giving us those memories from the past, and I'm loving that. This montage focused completely around Eugene, and it ended with Judith saying that all that matters now is the choices that we make today, completely foreshadowing what is about to happen in the episode. Then we transition to the present day where we have the community scrambling because we've got the walkers within the walls. Max gets separated from Eugene and a lady comes up to Eugene and basically accuses him of being responsible for getting Sebastian killed. So Daryl, being the hero that he is, he helps him escape and hides him out in the church. Then we move on to Pamela, who is making peace with Sebastian, dead Sebastian, in front of Mercer, and she explains that family is a complicated thing. Something that he knows all too well because, as we know, it was his sister who pretty much got Sebastian killed and did all this. But Pamela is willing to forgive all that, providing that somebody is brought to justice. And it looks a lot better if somebody is brought to justice that was like an outsider, not somebody that she's worked with for the past however many years. So if Eugene takes the fall in front of the community, Max is off the hook and they can all live happily ever after, basically. So Mercer's team of troopers, they head out and find anybody that has been in contact with Eugene, and basically they interrogate all of them in order to find out where he is at the moment. And then we move on to the people outside of the walls. So we've got Lydia, Elijah, Aaron and Jerry, and they are basically delivering to Oceanside. Along the way there's a big horde in front of them. They decide rather than going through the horde and fighting them, that they will go around and trek through the bush. So they head on into the sticks and one of the walkers notices that they've changed their direction and they lead the horde into their new direction. Along the way, their wagon gets stuck on something because they're traveling in the bush. Jerry gets his leg caught when they're trying to push it free and they decide that they're going to park up for the night. So they park up at this really safe location. I have no idea what you call this place in real life, but it's pretty convenient that they found it. It has walls, it is close to water, it's got shelter, you know, inside and walls on the outside. Lots of room for them to grow and farm things. So it's a pretty convenient location to stumble across, which is pretty good. Jerry thinks so too. He calls it the Kingdom 2.0 and envisions their future there or something like that. He's talking to Aaron about, but Aaron's not really listening because he's trying to concentrate on what's happening with Lydia and Elijah. Elijah tries to kiss Lydia and she sort of hesitates, so he's trying to see what's going on there. Then we head back to the community, and after Mercer's big speech last week about how much he respects Rosita and how much he will help their group get out if need be because he has so much respect for them, well, this week it turns out all that respect is gone because he treats Rosita like a stranger, like a prisoner, in order to find out where Eugene is. He wants them to give up Eugene in order to protect Max. Obviously, Rosita doesn't do that because she knows that if she does, Eugene's gonna die. So instead, she goes and tells Daryl and Eugene that Mercer and the troopers are looking for him. Daryl tells her that he has organized for the rest of the group to meet up. They're leaving at dawn. He knows how to escape and he knows the perfect times because of the shift change and things like that. But of course, Eugene doesn't want to go until they find Max, who's still missing. Then we see Pamela crying over Sebastian, literally, and she talks about how they don't need to disappoint each other anymore and things like that. And in that moment, I really felt like she cared for Sebastian, her son. I never really gathered that throughout the entire season 11, but I did in that moment there. I really felt like she cared about him. And I thought to myself out loud, I wonder if this is going to be like a Herschel situation where, you know, he keeps them alive in the barn. Well, she can't keep him alive in the barn, but, you know, like keep him alive in a cell in case there's a cure one day or some, you know, little bit of hope like that. But then he turned and she turned around to one of the troopers and told him to deal with that or something along them lines. And I thought, I guess not. Next up, we see Princess have a fight with Mercer over Eugene's innocence. She ends up going to Ezekiel to sort of vent, I guess, and also say, let's go, we're leaving. Ezekiel tells her that he doesn't want to leave, that he's going to stay. He's really proud of what Max has done, you know, like exposing the corrupt Commonwealth, and he thinks this is a perfect time to stand and fight for the people within the community, the innocent people who are probably going to need a king. Or maybe not, maybe I'm just foreshadowing them, that's wishful thinking. But anyway, he has a conversation with her about staying, and he explains that Mercer's a good guy, maybe he's just making the best out of the situation that he's got. I feel really, really sad for Princess, and I felt really sad for her when she said this.
Yeah, well, maybe this time I deserve more than just the best of a bad situation.
Yeah, you do.
That was a beautiful conversation that they had there, and I really like Princess, and I really hope that she finds her happiness because she's had a really crappy life. Back to the group on the outside, we have Lydia talking to Aaron about her relationship with Elijah. He talks to her about his relationship with Eric, who we've already met on the show. That was a good moment, to bring back somebody from the past again. He talks to her about that he rejected him so many times and that he'd give anything
to take back just one of those no's so that we could have one more day together.
Loss is inevitable. It always has been. The only thing we can control is when we say yes.
And I think that is just perfect advice. Back at the community, Rosita sees Max get captured, and in captivity, she is forced to read out this letter that basically is full of lies about her, Eugene, the new group, and basically clears the Miltons of any wrongdoing, saying that they were framed by these guys. Obviously, Max doesn't want to read it, and she has a heart-to-heart with Mercer about how their dad would be ashamed of him just taking orders and how he would have been proud of Max for trying to bring these corrupt people in the community to justice, and how he would have been proud of Eugene because Eugene's trying to save Max's life and actually cares about her. Speaking of Eugene, he wants to hand himself in, and we have that absolutely hilarious moment between him and Daryl. I honestly think it's the funniest moment probably ever that I've seen in The Walking Dead. I just think, what the hell is this? It was so cringy, so awkward, but totally hilarious.
You'd be wise to step aside, Hoss. No need for this to get ugly. Very well.
Like Eugene wanting to take on the boss. Come on, mate. Sit down. You're embarrassing yourself. Anyway, he has a heart-to-heart with Daryl and asks him, are people born brave or do they become brave? Then we move on to Lance, who is locked in a cell. He's basically begging for his life and really justifying his choices, saying that, he did take a gamble with this new group and the things that he's done within the community. He's always taken a gamble on that, but he did everything for Sebastian and everything to please Pamela. So she kind of uses his same tactics. She gets his lucky coin out of his pocket, which is really creepy and very sexual again, like I mentioned in the last episode. But anyway, she gets that out and basically gambles his life with that. He wins and they bring in Walker Sebastian, and she turns around to Lance and says,
Pick my son, Lance.
Which I totally predicted because I really thought it sounds like she wants to keep him alive like Herschel did, and sure enough, she wants Lance to feed him this dead body so that she can keep him alive like Herschel did. Then we move on to Princess, who obviously is leaving Mercer, and I thought these scenes were really good. They talked about her past, which to be fair we've already heard previously, but I really liked how her speech related to the community. She talked about how her stepfather used to abuse her and her mum used to justify it by saying things like it could be worse. Fuck that, thinking it could be better too is her motto, and that is so true. And I totally loved when she said,
This place is starting to look a lot like my stepdad, and if I just sit by, that makes me my mom, and I am not my mom.
She knows she has to leave. She's telling him she has to leave, but it was really nice for her to say that, even though she sees all men as monsters, because every man in her life has been one up until she met Eugene, that she believes that Mercer's not one. So I feel like that was her saying that he's not the reason she's leaving. It's the community as a whole. It's her stepfather. And I guess she was also kind of saying to him that he's not a monster, but don't become the monster that Pamela's trying to make him out to be. Then we move on to the people outside of the walls. Aaron and Lydia hear the gates open, which is very strange because they've locked everything up. And then in come the herd of walkers from before, and they get everybody up and they have this awesome slow-mo fighting scene, which is pretty cool. They're overrun, obviously, so they head inside, and when they're inside, the doorknob starts to turn and they think that it's the Whisperers, so they head to the roof to obviously get away or get to higher ground. And when they're on the roof, Lydia and Elijah jump onto a different roof to sort of separate the herd a little bit, and so they can kill off the walkers and kill off the Whisperers. Meanwhile, one of these variants of walkers is climbing up the wall. Aaron fights him off, and it's so funny because he's like punching this walker to death, second death, death. And I think he says something along the lines of, "God damn whisperers," or something like that. And then he just rips this, what he thinks is a mask off, but it just rips his whole skin off. It's so disgusting. I probably can't show it, but anyway. And he rips it off thinking that, you know, it's going to be the whisperer's mask, but it's not a whisperer, it's a proper zombie, so that's kind of disgusting. And anyway, he ends up killing it and finishing it off, but that was our variant. Anyway, they kill off the rest of the herd, and in the morning they head back to Oceanside. Back at the community, Daryl is packed and ready to go, and he obviously has everybody else packed and ready to leave, but then we have Eugene saying that he's not leaving. He wants to hand himself in and protect Max. Daryl leaves, and Rosita has this heart-to-heart with Eugene about it. It's really sad because, you know, Eugene has been a liar and a coward for literally all his life, and, you know, it's a real character development, it's real character arc there, because he finally wants to be who he's wanted to be all along, somebody who is brave and courageous for somebody that he loves. But obviously it's very sad because Rosita's saying goodbye to him, you know what I mean? She has to respect what he wants to do, which is to be brave, and she should be proud of that, but she's also very sad because she knows that that's going to cause his death, so it's a little bit confusing. But yeah, that was a very sad moment between those two. But of course, Eugene hands himself into Mercer and Pamela, and then Rosita gets captured, which was totally unexpected. I didn't expect that one, and that is how the episode ends, on that little cliffhanger there. I'm not gonna lie, this episode was pretty disappointing to me. I'm not quite sure if it's because it was mostly focused around Eugene, and unpopular opinion, but it's mine. I'm not really a fan of Eugene. He's definitely in my least favorite character list. And the story was mostly focused around him, and overall it was pretty bland and pretty boring, really. Nothing really happened in it, or nothing exciting anyway. And I was really hyping myself up to see what they do with these variants. Don't get me wrong, I don't even know if I wanted these variants. I feel like it's a little bit too little too late. We've seen these types of things before. We saw the little girl who was holding the teddy bear, and that's not normal for a zombie to do in season 1. And then we saw, I think it might have been in season 3, and there was a walker who was like holding a rock and smashing it against the glass trying to get in. And I just thought, you know, we've seen this stuff before. Why would you reintroduce zombies as a threat when we've got 5 episodes left of the entire show? Like, unless you're going to make one of these spin-offs about variants, or, you know, how zombies do what they do, or advanced zombies, I don't know, things like this, or a cure, for God's sake. Unless you're going to focus on that in one of the spin-offs, I just thought, what a strange way to reintroduce that. What a way to get everybody excited about one zombie, and it was just shoved under the rug. Like, I think Aaron said something like, "Oh, I've heard about these sorts of walkers before, but I just hoped they weren't true. I hope they're not." Okay, cool, great. That's the end of that story, by the way. I thought it was filler to sort of just give this group that's outside the walls, these tiny little group, like a threat to deal with while they're outside. And honestly, I just thought that whole thing was filler. Nothing came of it, and I don't think anything is going to come of it, the way that it ended so quickly, and, you know, just put this little bow on it and that's the end of it, sort of thing. So what I did like about this episode was the foreshadowing, I think. So Judith talks about our past doesn't matter, it's the choices that we make today that matters, and that sort of sets up for what Eugene does for Max. He makes that choice to sacrifice himself and hand himself in for the one that he loves. And then we have Jerry saying that at this Kingdom 2.0, you know, like Ezekiel could be king again, and Aaron replies with,
This place was built for King Jerry. I like the sound of that.
And I feel like that could be foreshadowing what's to come in the season finale. Jerry taking over this Kingdom 2.0 and King Ezekiel taking over the community at the Commonwealth. You know, maybe they could both rule these 2 little communities and live happily ever after. I know that might be wishful thinking, and I know that might be foreshadowing, predicting something dumb, but I don't know. That's kind of what I hope to happen. And yeah, I just liked hearing them talk about the kingdom and stuff like that again. Anyway, that was my thoughts on this week's episode. Hopefully next week's episode is a bit more interesting and less about Eugene. If you have watched this episode, let me know in the comment section below what you thought about it all, and could you please give this video a big thumbs up? And if you're not already, could you please subscribe to my channel, and then head on over to my Instagram and give me a follow over there as well, please. Okay, sweethearts, have a good day. Bye.